Yes, I'm pretty sure that's how
It takes a date.
All right, are we ready?
Yeah, so I'm doing one more time. It's not quite where I want it. I'm happier now.
All right, quiet down.
Sure. Yeah, that was very good.
We should be talking about
Really?
yeah, that's good for
I told her.
No, I appreciate it.
All right, are you ready? Okay, we're ready. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Katie Farshman. I'm the Vice President of the Merton PTO, and I'll be moderating this forum tonight. First, I want to thank Merton School for allowing us to use this space, to all of our volunteers behind the scenes to help make this forum possible, to the NJHS students for watching all of our kids while we're here, to community members who are here in person, and those of you who will be watching the recording after the fact. Thank you for being engaged in our community, for taking interest in these candidates, and participating in the election on April 2nd. And of course, thank you, candidates. Sitting on the school board is a huge responsibility, and you all know that. And it's a long-term commitment and a lot of time and energy that you'll be putting into this position. So we appreciate you stepping up and contributing to your community in this way. And good luck to all three of you tonight and on April 2nd. Okay, so a little background. On February 28th, we submitted a press release to the local publications and distributed information to our Merton community families to let them know about this community forum, and also send them the link for our online question submission, which some of you may have submitted questions online. We are also collecting questions here in person tonight. The process will be, we have a team of volunteers who are sorting through those questions and categorizing them as either online submissions or in-person submissions. And those will be randomly passed to me. We'll ask the candidates those questions, and we'll do a round-robin format. The candidates will have the opportunity to review all of the questions after the forum. So as I said, the format tonight, the candidates will each have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and explain why they want to be on the school board. Then we'll go round-robin format for the questions. They'll each have 1 minute to answer the questions. It's not a debate. And there will be no rebuttals. Oh yeah, and please be respectful and adhere to the time limitations, because as it turns out, I don't have the Play-Doh music, right? We will rotate, so the candidates will take turns as the first responder to each question. And at the end of the question and answer session, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make their closing statements. After the forum formally concludes at around 7 p.m. Our video will stop, so that'll be the end of that, but we'll allow everyone to stay and encourage you to stay and get to know our candidates in a more personal setting. So we'll begin. Mr. Doherty, do you want to start with your opening statement?
Sure. I'm Dean Doberton. I'm a lifelong resident of the Merton area. I've spent a lot of years on the board here. I am a property manager. That's what I do now as a farmer up until 2005, and I do property management now. And I'm a businessman, created a payroll. I have a lot of business experience, a lot of knowledge on running properties. That's an asset for me as a board member. I work with on the facility committee most of the time. And then I have a lot of experience. The reason I started this, and I first was elected in 1988, so some of you may have not been born yet. I did it. I was encouraged to do it, and I looked at it as a way of giving back to my community. I've really enjoyed the ride. The people, the things we've done here at Merton, great things. Lots of things to celebrate. And it's very, very gratifying for me, especially now we've gotten back to doing student showcases. seeing kids come up and show us what they're doing in school. These children are blessed with wonderful teachers, a wonderful facility, and Merton's a great place, a great community, and we are very fortunate to have parents that are engaged with their children. What makes a great school is when mom and dad are involved in their kids' education. And we know that's just the difference between good schools and bad schools. So I'm very appreciative of the people that have been residents of the Merton School District and their willingness to really get involved in the things that the PTO do, and the volunteers are just amazing here. Lots of great things we've done before. Thank you for coming out, and I hope you look at me as an experienced board member.
Okay, Mr. Kent?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Kent. Thanks to the PTO for putting this on. I know how much work goes into it, so Katie, especially, thank you very much for that. I've lived in Merton for coming up on 6 years now. I have 4 children, 2 that are in the district here, a 7th grade daughter and a 4th grade son. I have 2 kids that go to North Lake School District as well. We moved to Merton for the public schools. We moved here, we were sending our kids to private school when we lived in Illinois, and we were looking for an opportunity to send our kids to get a great public education, and we chose Merton. Went to public schools myself growing up. I've got a degree in business and a master's in business administration as well. Spent my entire career in sales and operations. From a personal standpoint there, for several years and involved in PTO for several years as well. Why do I want to be on the school board? I want to serve my community. I want to bring my perspectives. I want to make sure that parents are very involved in the kids' education. They know what's going on in their schools. They have a say in the curriculum that happens in our district, and that our students can get the best education possible here in Merton. So again, thanks for your time. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Cole.
Megan Cole, obviously. My reason for being here today is similar, right, to be invested in this community. We've been in Merton a little over 5 years as well, and have loved every minute of it. I am a farm girl at heart, so have a little background like Mr. Dobberton over there. My parents had a 2nd generation dairy farm, and until about the 4th grade, so late 80s-ish, that's how we grew up. And through that, I learned hard work ethic, making hard decisions, and family first. So my parents had to sell the family farm in the late 80s, and again, it was my grandpa's farm, very hard decision for them, but they did it for us, right, and for us to be as a part of the family, and that's how I approach things: families first, community, making those hard decisions when they're the right one to make. As a parent, I have 2 little kiddos. I have a 6-year-old here at kindergarten, and a 4-year-old over at Weno, and he'll be coming here to kindergarten in the fall of 25. We, again, love being a part of this community. I could do without some of the dear eating our landscaping, so if anybody has some tips for me there, that'd be great. But we just really enjoy being a part of this community. I've really enjoyed, as I've started to get involved in this process, just seeing how engaged people have been. Like Mr. Dobberton had said, the families are just engaged with the school and the community, current events. If anybody came to the Christmas tree lighting at the new Village Hall, so many people showed up for a little 5-foot tree. That says a lot about the Merton community and how much we want community here. And that's why I'm doing this, to help build community. And to be frank, I think, we've had some hard conversations, right? Whether they're here in this room or on social media or just, out on the playground waiting for our kids. And I want to be a part of helping us come together and have those hard discussions. We're not always going to agree. I don't expect us to always agree, but I'd like to see us continue to have conversation and do that in a respectful manner and kind of figure out where do we meet in the middle. So that's what I'm hoping to bring in terms of the style, and really appreciate, again, all of you being here today and being engaged yourselves. Thank you.
Great, Thank you, all three of you. All right, so we are gonna start with the online questions that we've received, and as we're going through these, we'll collect any in-person questions. So our first one, drum roll please. What are your thoughts on your school district's program for gifted students? Mr. Doherty, we'll start there.
You know, that's one of the things that we've staff, it's kind of like the staff changes a little bit every now and then on that. We have to meet the needs of all the children in the school district. And it doesn't mean that all the focus is on the lower achieving students. We have to meet the needs of our higher achieving students. So we need to be able to reach them with extra things to enhance their education.
Mr. Kent, did you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think I got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Yeah. I think we have a great opportunity here in Merton to expand our gifted and talented program. We have high achieving students overall in our district, and I think we can definitely expand that to give our students that need that extra push and challenge to give those opportunities to move their academic performance forward. We have advanced math, we have some writing groups, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot for our students that I'm aware of. I have a son that's in advanced math, and there were some changes made to the program in the last few years I thought were very, very positive. I think Ms. Kasparis and Ms. Iwanski do a very fine job with our students, but I'd love to see that expanded so that more kids can be captured and their talents can be grown as students.
I actually echo with both of my fellow candidates here would say, I think it's great that we have these programs, right, and we're able to offer them at Merton, continuing to look at offerings like this or leadership programs or other ways to explore academics, right, and help our students to be well-rounded. I think the Gifted and Talented program is a good way to do that. Admittedly, I don't have a ton of details myself about what we do offer here. Mrs. Kucharski and I have had some conversations to understand it a little bit more, but definitely a program I would support and continue to support going forward.
All right, starting with Mr. Kent. What specific steps will you take to build trust with school staff and administration?
Yeah, no, great question. First and foremost is be accessible to people to speak with me, coming to the school to make sure that they see my presence, that I'm involved, that I'm engaged, that I understand what their challenges are, what the school's opportunities are to improve not only their job satisfaction, but what's going on in the classroom. You know, I personally, I respect the teachers. I don't think I could be a second grade teacher, right? It takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of effort, and I want to be there to help them maximize the job they do in that classroom. Make sure they understand decisions that are being made on the school board, giving them a voice and input in those decisions, so that when a vote is taken, everyone understands that even though the vote may go the way they wanted or the way they didn't want, they understand that all information was gathered from all those constituents.
Mrs. Cole?
I think it comes down to communication, empowerment, collaboration. It's really about communicating openly, transparently, having an open door policy, but also respecting the roles of our administration and our teachers and not overshadowing or overstepping our roles as board members. And listening, right? So empowering our teachers, empowering our administration, and listening to staff and parents as we move through decisions.
Great, thank you. What?
You want to let me have one?
Oh, sorry. Hello. Clearly. Mr. Dougherty, please.
You want to just repeat the question?
Okay, fine. Way to call me out, though. That's okay. I'm glad you called me out. I would have continued on. You need the question again.
Just repeat.
Okay. What specific steps will you take to build trust with school staff and administration?
Specific steps. One thing is being consistent. I've learned over the years that you may have disagreements with philosophies, some values, things of that over the years, but you need to be consistent on how you make every decision. That helps with trust. Now, giving our professionals the opportunity to perform, giving them not being somebody that's going to be undermining their decision making. We've hired professionals and we need to be able to and give them
Okay, thank you.
what they need.
All right, starting with Mrs. Cole. How will you assure that our school meets the unique, diverse needs of all students?
Yeah, I think it's listening to our teachers, administration, and understanding where our kids are at and where our families are at, right? So what might be right for my family and my kids might not work for you and your kids, and that's okay, but understanding that and having a conversation about it, bringing that up front and figuring out a way to work through it, that's how we address the needs of all of our kids. I think it's also just understanding where they're at in terms of their test scores, understanding with their teachers, how they're performing, where they might need some help. Do we have programs and ways for them to plug in and resources for them, and are our families aware of those resources as well?
That's one of the difficult parts of public schools. Every child that walks through the door, we have to educate. And there's difficulties in funding. Special needs issues are sometimes very expensive. The state hasn't really stepped up on funding it as well as it should be on their portion, and so we have to be always recognizing that there are steps we have to put in place to meet every child that walks through the door, and sometimes it can be very difficult for other parents in the classroom, but we have to still meet the needs of those children, and we've got some great people who do that.
Thank you. Mr. Cat.
I think it starts with partnering with families, making sure that the teachers and the staff, administration understands what the needs of those individual children are. Whether it's high-performing students, low-performing students, students with special needs, making sure that every single one of them, we have a plan, right? And making sure that that plan has the proper resources behind it, so that we can get that child to achieve their maximum academic potential.
Thank you. All right, starting again with Mr. Davertine. What do you see are the educational gaps or weaknesses in our district?
Repeat that again, Reverend Harton.
What do you see are the educational gaps or weaknesses in our district?
That's an interesting question. We, as a school district, have to meet. I would hope there aren't any gaps that we are having for the educational needs of our children. I gotta say that I don't have an idea what would be the gaps.
Thank you. Mr. Kent.
Yeah, so in my experience, having students in the district, I think one of the opportunities we have is when a curriculum's not working, we should start over, right? Our math curriculum was not working that we had prior to the current one, and I don't think we should wait 5 years when we know it's not working for our students. to start over. You know, I understand there's a financial piece of that, but 5 years of an elementary child's education that's their entire career. We can't take that risk to have a curriculum that's not working for them. So that's one gap I think we can definitely improve on. The other gap I see is, again, we have students that come in, they are high potential, high achieving students, and I think we can push them and challenge them more to grow, to prepare them for Arrowhead. Some of the feedback I hear from other parents that have sent kids from Merton to Arrowhead is at times they're not ready for the rigor that they face when they walk into the classrooms with the homework and just the excess time it takes to prepare as an Arrowhead student.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole.
Well, I mean, I think we all know, right, we're ranked as number 6. That is a pretty good place to start, but there's always things we can continue to work on. The core foundations are important. We do know that there'll be some curriculum updates coming in the next couple of years, and even as early as this fall, right, with the new state standards. So focusing energy on that. You know, selfishly, I come from IT, so I would love to see some more technology in the curriculum, or whether it's maybe in the curriculum or extracurriculars, but getting some more exposure in that area I think would be great as well.
All right, starting with Mr. Kent. What is the biggest responsibility of a school board member?
Oh wow, great question. I would say there's one overarching responsibility, but for me the number one priority is always academics, educating the kids. Make sure that each child, when they go from first grade to second grade, they're prepared to be successful in second grade. When they graduate, they're prepared for Arrowhead so they can go on to college or whatever career path they decide to go into. You know, for me, schools are about academics and that preparation so that wherever their life path takes them, we can look back and say, hey, Merton prepared them for the opportunities that they get in their life.
Thank you.
And I would say I think that the biggest responsibility we have is the top responsibility is stewardship. We are, if elected, I am your voice, right? It's not just my voice, it is all of you. And whether they're all the same or we vary in different areas, that's what, as a school board member, would be our primary role. And it's also that for our teachers, our staff, administration, right? It's not only the families, it's all of our stakeholders that are part of the school, students, staff, teachers, families alike. So being that steward.
Thank you.
The greatest responsibility I feel for the school board, number one thing is hiring a superintendent. The superintendent is the educational leader of a school district. That person has to reflect the values of the community. When you have educational leaders that don't fit the values of the community, you start to have chaos. You start to have issues with how the school is run. So hiring a superintendent, driving the philosophical goals of the school, and letting our professionals do their job and overseeing and evaluating the superintendent is my idea of the greatest job for the school.
All right, Mrs. Cole. How do you plan to ensure open communication with all members of our community, including those with differing opinions? And what steps would you take to engage with individuals whom you may not agree with?
1 minute for that question. Well, I would echo, if anybody was here or listened to the board meeting yesterday where they were talking about trust, I would echo some of that. Just explaining, the process of decision and how they came to a decision, the information that went into it, and making sure that people understand where is the source or who's kind of the right person to be communicating that out, whether it's superintendent, board member, or somebody else within the staff. So just being clear on that. And then, yeah, we might not agree on some things, but I do find that if we try to focus on what is it we're trying to accomplish, we're likely trying to have the same objectives. We're just coming about it in different ways. So let's start with kind of having that find that common ground, and then have discussion from there.
Thank you.
Probably the most important thing to do is listen. We need to be able to hear other people's viewpoints, be able to ask questions of the people, to try to find common ground, and to be able to come to a conclusion. Hey, part of being a board member, part of being a board of directors of anything is an area where you just there's gotta be compromise sometimes, and there has to be problem solving. I think last night was a good example of Troy bringing forth a different way to approach the issue on SEL. That's a good example of how we can do the part of gaining trust and being able to communicate.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kent.
Yeah, I mean, of course, listening is always important. Making our community forum, which I take full advantage of for those that have watched board meetings before, making that a place where people want to come and speak to the board, so there's not anxiety of what might get posted on social media, what might happen. We want people to come speak to the board freely and openly, so they can hear directly from us. Again, make myself available and accessible to people if there's an issue they want to discuss with me. I think our school board does a great job with the community forum. A lot of school districts do not offer that opportunity. A lot of school districts do it in a way that is metered or timed. And again, for those that watched or were here last night, I think we went on for almost a good hour, right? So, I would just make sure that the environment is conducive to people coming in to speak with us, so they can hear directly from me as a school board member.
Mr. Dabertine, what skills do you have for constructive responses to controversy?
The skills I have is you have to have thick skin for this job. You never let things roll off your back, and it goes hand in hand with what I do for a business, and you're doing property management. You're not always the most popular person, so you have to be able to take things and take criticism and be able to do this job.
Okay, Mr. Kent.
Yeah, my experience in business, sales and operations, right? You deal with a lot of difficult situations with customers or employees. The one thing for me, I think it's important is that you're a good partner with the administration and superintendent to help them through those challenging or controversial situations, so that they're not on their own, so that they know the board is behind them and they've got support, and that it's a cohesive message coming from the entire district. I think at times when we have those controversial issues, if there's poor communication or a lack of communication, I think things can get out of control. They can spiral when those things happen. So I think that's what I would bring to the table.
Mrs. Cole.
I think for me it's two pieces. Ask questions, why is it you think that, or why is that your perspective, to understand where the other person is coming from or other folks are coming from when it is controversial. And I think also it's not personal, you can't take it personal, and don't make it personal.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Kent, what role should the school board play in personnel decisions?
I think the school board has a big role in personnel decisions when it comes to superintendent, making sure that we have the right leader in that position. I think the school board plays a role of what kind of staff we want to bring into our district and our organization, making sure that they fit the community values that the dean was speaking of. And I think it's important that the school board understands that we aren't always the experts in all those decisions, and that we need to rely on information from a lot of different stakeholders to make great decisions.
Well, it's the role of the school board to employ the superintendent, right? And I think from there, we have to trust in our leadership, our principals, our administrative team, to make the right personnel decisions. The board should be informed enough, I think, and in tune enough with the school to know, how our teachers are performing, where maybe they need some help. But it's not necessarily our role as board members to do that. So I would rely on administration and the superintendent and the administrative team to really make those personnel recommendations and support them from there. And we're halfway done.
Okay, Mr. Doherty.
Go back to the other question. The most important job is our superintendent. And then, the Merton School District is really, really fortunate. We have probably got the best administrative team. Probably second to none. We've got some great people in place here. And with the new principal coming on board, I think it'll just be another piece there that'll work well. If we can encourage our administrative team to work well together and appreciate that, the rest of the hires, we don't have to worry about as board members. We're going to get very good quality staff here.
Thank you. All right, we've got some in-person questions. Okay, we're starting here with Mrs. Cole. You spoke on academic, gifted, and talented programs that are available. What are your thoughts on offering the other pillars of gifted education, including leadership and the arts?
Well, it's my understanding we do have a leadership program here at Merton, so would love to dig into that more and understand that more. That's near and dear to my heart as an IT professional and a woman leader as well. It's been part of my journey to have great mentors and to really hone those skills. I think it's so important, even if you're not going to, be a manager or be a people leader, still to be a good citizen. Those leadership skills are great. And the arts, I think it's another great way for kids to explore and love academia, right? Like math might not be their great thing, but maybe it can be tolerated a little bit more if I love art or I'm in band or really exploring some of those other areas to use a different part of their brain.
Thank you. Mr. Doherty.
So we've got some great things. We've got like the Biz Town that is implemented. We've got Junior Honor Society. We have Student Council. All those pieces giving children a chance to show leadership. And one of the things we've seen here in the last few student showcases are young people willing to stand up in front of a crowd and talk and express and do an extremely good job of expressing themselves. And so we're very fortunate in that. And the fine arts, we know that play a very important role in the whole educational piece, and we need to be able to supplement as much as we can the fine arts and still be able to keep all the core curriculum at a high level.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Kent.
Yeah, no, I would love to see our gifted and talented program expanded, as I spoke on prior. Last night I had the opportunity to hear from I believe he's still a student, 8th grade student, that is an exceptional saxophone player, right? He talked about his love for that started here at Merton School. And I think we need to give students like that the opportunity to grow that passion. That passion leads to academic success and, you know, potentially a career path for individuals. Some kids might not excel, math might not be their thing, right? But we can find the arts, right, that works for them. As far as leadership goes, I am all for offering leadership skills to students in school. My wife and I started a leadership program here, Lead With Me, in 2019. That's open to elementary school students. We started at Northlake as well. Our community is full of talented people, and I'd love for the district to you know, open our doors for folks to come in and bring the talents to help in those important areas.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Oh, we're going back to an online submission. Okay, thank you. Okay, we are starting with Mr. Johnson. What is your motive for running for school board?
My motive for running for school board is that give back to the community. My wife always says this is my hobby. I don't know how to say it. I enjoy the people. You know, besides many years on public school board, I was on a Christian school board in Menominee Falls for many, many years. And something about education that I love, and that's why I've been involved in it. You know, I've started in this school. Actually, I started out in Plainview for 1 year, and then went to combine the work. So this is home.
Thank you. Mr. Kent.
Yeah, and for me, I believe in public education. I'm a product of public education. I think education's kind of at a crossroads in a lot of ways. I think we need to make sure that our schools stay focused on academics and student achievement, and making sure that it's not a place where, you know, social or political agendas are pushed into our classrooms. And for me, you know, unfortunately, I've seen that happen here in Merton at times, right? So for me, I want to make sure that our school continues on the path of producing great and strong academic performance for our students.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole.
Yeah, I think, like I said, you know, when I opened, it's about community, and not just community as us adults, as the kids as well. On the short drive over here, Jim, my husband, is sitting in the front here, says to me, you know, you've been talking about getting involved in community for years now. This is it. This is what you're doing. You're making it happen. So it's really investing in this community, getting to know all of you. I hope I'm on this board. If I'm not, I'm still looking forward to getting to know all of you through this process and through the school.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Another in-person question. Ooh, it's labeled as a hard question.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Like self-labeled as a hard
Yeah,
question?
it's written as a hard question. Okay, we're starting with Mr. Kent. Mr. Kent, okay. Hard question. What is your opinion on critical race theory?
That is a hard question. I'll boil it down that I don't think it belongs anywhere in a K-8 school. Simple as that. I think the definition of critical race theory and the way it can be applied in K-8 education, I think is something that is risky to delve into for young students. There's a lot of parts of that academia that are very, very controversial, that people, I think parents might have an issue with. I have an issue with it being in our K-8 schools, and I personally would not allow that to happen here in Merton.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole?
Yeah, so critical race theory is a concept for graduate, postgraduate kids. Not for us, not for our kids, and it's part of our policy. It's in Merton written policy that it will not be a part of our curriculum. Simple as that.
Thank you. Mr. Doctor?
The one thing about our children is that color doesn't mean a thing to them. It's us adults that mess everything up. I wish we could have a world that everybody's judged by their conduct and character and not by color of their skin. That would be asking for a perfect world. We don't have that. And so what we need to do is have faith that God will have mercy on our country and people will change their hearts.
Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Cole, how might you as a school board member or prospective member meet the needs of diverse student groups such as students with special education needs, low-income students, and those of different ethnicities, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to some of the earlier questions around, one, making sure that our programs are adequately funded. Special education, Ron and I had a discussion earlier this week, or last week, on budget and how much we do spend on special education, and that we do have a decent budget that addresses that part of our kids, right, wherever they're at in the range. So continuing to make sure that we have that well-funded. And also helping to make sure that families understand what resources are available, whether it's school resources, county or state resources. I think it's important for us to be partners with families. Again, just be a neighbor, be a community member, and help them understand what resources might be available to them if they need them. And then I think there was a third part to that question, and
Low income and those with different ethnicities.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's having that inclusivity and making sure that we are conducting ourselves, our teachers are conducting ourselves in a way that makes students feel inclusive and is not discriminatory or makes them feel anything other than included.
Thank you. Mr. Doherty.
I'd like to repeat the question.
How might you, as a school board member or prospective member, meet the needs of diverse student groups, such as children with special education needs, low-income students, and those of different ethnicities, etc.?
As a school board member, our job is to provide the education for the Merton community. That's period. So whoever walks through the door, we have a responsibility for the education of that child. You know, again, I would say children don't have a problem with kids that are different. We just gotta keep the innocence in our children, that they treat everybody equally and don't push adult agendas on our children. We need to have a school and a community that takes care of everybody. What came to mind right away was every year when they have this Christmas drive and the gifts and everything.
Thank you.
This community has a big heart, and I think that's what we have to have. And as a board, have a heart for everybody.
Thank you. All right.
Okay,
We got one more.
Oh,
One more.
again, I'm sorry.
That's right. No worries, yeah. Just making sure that every student that walks in the Merton School has the same opportunity to be successful in our classrooms, and then we provide the resources necessary for those students to be successful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Multitasking. Okay. We have an in-person question.
I was gonna say easy.
It's not labeled. It's not specified. Okay, so we're starting with Mr. Doherty. What do you feel is the most important or most significant issue facing Merton School District over the next 3 to 5 years?
That's an easy question for me. Employing and retaining quality educators. It is a very tough market right now on hiring. And then we have to do things, excuse me, as a board to retain those people that we hire. The pool of people out there is shrinking. Less kids going into education in the colleges. A lot, about 17% turnover rate in schools right now in Wisconsin. People leaving the schools there. So we have, that's the big job, is keeping an eye. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What do you feel is the most important or most significant issue facing Merton School District over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, thank you. So for me, I'm not big on saying what's the most important thing. Because 3 to 5 years is a hard time period to project. But I would agree, making sure any organization is having the right people, making sure it's an organization that attracts the right people. But for us as a community, we've seen some pretty substantial growth over the past couple of years. And it's important that we make sure that we continue to be a community that people want to come to because of our public school. And of course, obviously, the results and the staff and everything we have here plays a big part in that. And in addition to that, making sure that as the needs of our students change, that we adapt and we make sure to have the right technology in place so that when they again move from Merton School to Arrowhead, they don't have a gap, to make sure that they can continue their success from primary school to high school all the way through their college careers.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole?
Yeah, I'm going to answer the question a little more short term because I think it'll set us up for better long term in 3 to 5 years. And to me, that's trust. We need to rebuild trust of the board, trust amongst each other, trust with our teachers and administration. If we can't do that, we're not going to be able to attract and retain good talent. We're going to continue to run up against financial issues, and to be able to explain that when we're not trusting each other is even more difficult. So it's really, for me, it's about building that trust. And if we don't do that, I think that's a big threat to the school for all the reasons that Mr. Doverton and Mr. Kent also just mentioned.
Thank you. I'm not missing anyone, right? Questioning myself. Okay. All right, starting with Mr. Kent. What should the school district do to better prepare students as citizens?
Oh, great question. So first thing, I would say from a school perspective is making sure that our students understand this process, right? Civic engagement, understand what the importance of involving yourself in the process of electing officials and things like that. I think that's a great way to bring students into the fold and help them understand what it means to be a great citizen. And part of that is understanding the importance of voting. We live in a community that I think we have fairly high engagement, but as generations have moved on, that is kind of come and gone, and we need to make sure that our kids understand the importance of civics and being involved in public education, school boards, and what's going on in your local governments.
Thank you. Mrs. Cole?
Sure, I think it's a couple parts. I would agree with Mr. Kent that it is about engagement, and I think for whatever reason it's become kind of scary to get engaged, right? Like, you don't want to put yourself out there, you don't want to voice your opinion because that can be attacked or somebody might misunderstand you. So it has been, I think, a scary thing, or more of a scary thing, to be engaged. So we have to figure out a way to help our kids get over that and not perpetuate. And then I think, as good citizens, there's also elements of our ACP curriculum, and I'm going to go there, social emotional learning, right? So there are some concepts within there: goal setting, self-organization, resiliency. That's good citizenship, right? So if we can kind of figure out some of those core things that might work for us, I would advocate for building those things in to help our kids be more well-rounded and citizens.
All right, Mr. Doherty.
Having our children become good citizens has actually been part of the things that have been happening in this school for quite some time. You'll see posted on the walls, life skills, being kind, being courteous, being things on that order, showing respect for others. They need to learn about civics and government. They need to learn history. History is very important because we, as adults, if we don't learn from history, we're being fools. We have to learn from the past. One of the neat things is the sidebar for this. Over the years, been many times, we've gotten letters back from where kids have gone out on field trips or gone to different businesses.
Thank you. Sorry.
And compliment the school on how good the kids are.
All right, this will be our last question so that each candidate has a minute to answer before we go into closing statements, and it'll be an in-person question. I don't have a mic, but I can talk.
It's a
It's a
long
long one.
It's not labeled as a hard one. Okay, we are starting with Mrs. Cole.
Okay.
If academic success is the focus and the goal is success in the workforce one day, in large companies, you cannot opt out of, I can't read this word, DEXI, ethics, etc. Isn't that also part of educating our kids? Why would that type of life training be optional now? You need to hold personal values throughout.
Okay, read the middle part again.
The middle question. In large companies, you cannot opt out of DEXI, ethics, etc. Isn't that also part of educating our kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's touching a little bit on, you know, what I was mentioning about social emotional learning. And I think with some of us would consider life skills, right? The workforce is looking for emotional intelligence, well-adjusted, culturally sensitive professionals. So I think, yes, there are concepts that we should be working on in the schools. As parents, I know we're doing that at home as well, and we're setting the foundation, but school is just a really good place for kids to practice that and help reinforce that. And I think it should be a part of preparing our kids for being successful.
Thank you. Mr. Doherty.
The example is adults in an adult situation. These are children in the school, and as parents, you're the driver of their values. And we shouldn't be expecting the school system to be the driver of our children's values. Yes, you can't get away from education and not teach values, but you have to respect the individual parents and families on what they are bringing to their children. And so I don't compare them apple to apples. It's a situation where you have to let the parents be in control of
Thank you.
the values taught.
Mr. Kenneth.
One more time.
The whole thing?
Please.
Okay. Make me work for it. All right. If academic success is the focus and the goal is success in the workforce one day, in large companies you cannot opt out of DEXI, ethics, etc. Isn't that also part of educating our kids? Why would that type of life training be optional now? You need to hold personal values throughout.
Okay, yeah. You know, I guess I don't view K-8 education necessarily as preparing people for the workforce. I believe that these are young children, that we're teaching them how to learn. We're teaching them how to be thinkers, how to be great students, so that they can choose for themselves the path that they want to go on in their life. I don't think it's the place of public education to impose values on any child. I don't think it's the place of public education to tell a kid how to feel about something or how they shouldn't feel about something. You know, I'm all for providing resources for families, providing resources for parents. Right? I don't think in K-8 education it's designed to prepare them for the workforce. I think we're preparing them to be thinkers, critical thinkers, so they can go out and be successful in life, wherever that path may take them.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes the question and answer portion, and we'll move on to the closing statements. Each of you have 2 minutes to give us your final thoughts. We'll start with, next on my checklist is Mr. Daugherty.
I thank you all for coming. This has been a wonderful opportunity, and thank you for the questions. I thank the PTO for their work and the way it's been run. The old days they used to do this, it was scripted, and it was very, very dumb. So I'm asking you to vote for me to continue the work we've done here. One thing I've asked all our administrators is let our children be children. Don't push adult agendas on our children. Let these children be curious and creative and have an excitement for school, and not push things that the children don't need to be involved in right now in their lives. We've got great things going here, Merton. Lots of things to celebrate, and we should be very thankful for what we have here. And just asking for your vote to continue on my enjoyment, but to be able to work for you.
Thank you. Mr. Kent.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks to Megan and Dean for participating tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Like you said, maybe this past this is a little more engaging. So thank you for everything you guys did. You know, I hope I have your vote. I'd love to serve you on the school board. I think I bring a lot of assets that would be great for our community. One thing we didn't touch on a whole lot tonight that I'd like to speak on is just you know, the taxpayer. And you know, we're in a situation here in Merton where we're a growing community. We're all lucky enough that our property values have grown as well. You know, Dr. Russ and I had a conversation a few weeks back just about kind of the fiscal situation of the district, and you know, we're in a very positive position right now. However, right, the finances are shifting, right? We were a community that used to get a substantial amount of state aid, and now that is shifting more and more to the local taxpayers. Our property values have grown, and so I think it's important that you know, we understand it as a district, and we have a good plan in place to make sure that our taxpayers understand what's happening in our schools and why it's important that you know, why their taxes are what they are. But I hope I have your vote. You can visit me on Facebook, Justin Kent from Merton School Board, to ask me questions or anything I might have after this forum. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Howell.
Thanks again for all of you that came out tonight, and everybody that's going to be watching from home later. I really, again, appreciate that this community is engaged. You're engaged as parents, as community members, so that speaks volumes, I think, for this community. I also want to thank my husband down here of almost 12 years this fall, so being supportive and helping me on this journey, so appreciate him and all the great support and text messages and things I got today to help kind of amp me up for this. So I, again, really appreciate the community that has shown up today. So in terms of style and what I hope to bring to the board, I think you've heard some of it here today, but really for me, it comes down to collaboration and really just talking, having open dialogue, having conversation, understanding, you know, where I may be coming from, understanding where you're coming from, what are we trying to do? Because Dean's right, at the end of the day, it is about the kids, it's about their education, and that needs to be the focus of what we do. As parents, as board members, as administration, as teachers, it's about the kids at the end of the day. But again, here to be a part of this community, I would love your vote, would love to participate and be a part of this community as a school board. If that doesn't happen, you're still stuck with me as your neighbor, because I'm never leaving Merton. I told Jim when we moved in 5 years ago, that's it, we're done. We're not moving ever again. So again, thank you all. Look forward to more conversation after this, and you can always reach me on Facebook or my website as well. Email me, call me. Would appreciate conversation before or after April 2nd. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes our forum. And we have extra time for me to do a solo. Just kidding. Totally kidding. Okay, so stay behind here and chat with our candidates afterwards in a more casual environment. But otherwise, thank you so much. We'll see you on April 2nd for voting. Have a good night.